The landscape of college sports seems to be changing by the minute. Next on the Cavalier Connection, we talk to the executive director of Cav Futures, Lo Davis, to get some insight into NIL and the challenges UVA faces. Stay tuned as we are coming at you right now. Welcome into another edition of tonight's Cavalier Connection. I'm Jeff, joined by Jay. It's an exciting one tonight, Jay. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. Yeah, definitely an exciting one. I've been looking forward to this one for a couple weeks now.
No doubt. This one will air on Friday, so if you're tuning in, last night for us, 2 nights ago when you view this, Virginia took a brutal L in basketball. Just can't make foul shots down the stretch, and
the thing was, Sharma made all his, Jeff.
No, I know, but
and then he gets subbed out.
Yeah,
for Sharma, for Tain,
right?
And obviously the moment seemed to be a little too big for Tain because when you're almost airball.
Yeah,
your first one, that's embarrassing.
I told Jack at max we were going to be 1 for 2 there, and yeah.
So, when the possession though, when they started going backwards, kind of the first shot, first move by the guard.
Oh yeah.
For SMU was backwards. I was like, okay, we're going to win this because he's going to end up having to fire up a prayer, and looked like we got confused on defense, and he ended up getting a pretty good look and. Can't get
and the other thing, I had told Jack I wouldn't have taken the timeout if I was SMU. I was glad they took it. So the defense would get set because they had just ran down the court on us multiple times. They even hit us for the DeAndre Hunter corner 3 like in the Texas Tech game.
Yeah.
It's like just give them the 2. But tough loss. Tough loss last night. It's that's what the season's been. One thing that's also been has gone well this season is our friends over at Mentzer's, Jay. Just a great partnership to have. And Jay, the weather's been cold, but Mentzer's has you covered. Whether you're looking for a cozy knit hat, a warm hoodie, or a jacket to keep you comfortable, they have it all. Or if you're looking to rep your team spirit indoors, grab a classic orange basketball jersey for a trip to the JPJ, and you talked about this one in our episode on Wednesday night, a Tony Bennett 5 Pillars t-shirt. And that'll come in handy. You got the celebration of Tony Bennett on February 8th. One more thing, and I know Jay and I have definitely taken advantage of this, is don't miss out on their orange tag sales. There are new deals each week with savings up to 70%. Mentzer's isn't just a store, it's a family tradition. For over 75 years, Mentzer's has been the heart of UVA spirit. Visit Mentzers.com, or the next time you're in town, stop by one of their 2 convenient locations, the corner in Charlottesville or Stonefield, where you'll find plenty of free parking. Check out why Mentzers has been UVA's go-to for sportswear for over 75 years. Go Hoos. Yep. So tonight, can't wait. We'll have Lo Davis, Executive Director of Cav Futures, joining us. And I'm looking forward to hearing what he has to say.
Talking more about the business side of it, Jeff. We talk about the athletes and the coaches, but tonight we talk business.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that it's turning into, it's turned into a legal business. Before it was an illegal under the table business, and now it's just all been legalized.
Yeah.
And just like anything else in America, when finally they legalize it. So try to avoid these under the table, swept under the table deals. So looking forward to have Low on here in just a couple minutes. But Virginia last night, tough loss in basketball. We play Saturday at Louisville.
At Louisville, that's going to be a tough one.
Another tough one. And
I'm sure that, the guys will come out and fight, but Louisville's just quite a bit more talented than us. And, they beat us by 20 in Charlottesville, if I remember correctly.
And the one thing I was going to mention that I did mention in our live this week was I will say Virginia didn't quit on Sanchez.
No,
they played hard. They played hard last night. And before we get to Low here in just a couple minutes, shout out to Blake Buchanan, because we've blasted him this year. Boy, he played last night. That's the Blake we need to see. That aggressiveness and going after the ball, and like that guy, he got after it last night. That's the best.
That's earning your minutes. That's earning your minutes.
That's right. Yep. I was super.
We hadn't seen that since Florida last year.
Nope. And that was better than the Florida game.
I also thought about this, Jeff, too. I don't think TJ Power saw 1 minute. If he did, I missed it. So he was a DMP coach's decision.
Yep. I told Jack that last night. I was like, no TJ Power. And then Day Ames got to start.
Yeah, that was different, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I thought he played fairly well.
Yep. So we'll see. McNeely, he
tough
was
night for him. I don't know if he was under the weather. He went down to the trainer there at the end.
Maybe so. Maybe something's going around the locker room since Rhodey was sick earlier.
Yeah, and he got pulled out of benched, which you just haven't seen that. And he was having a rough night, but tough loss last night. When you're up 5 with 30 seconds to go, you expect to win that one, and they earned it, but you got to finish. Can't give up 3 threes in the last 25 seconds. So
that's right.
Tough loss. Hopefully they'll rebound and come out strong on Saturday, but mentally, the losses start to pile up, and you worry about it wearing them down a little bit emotionally.
Yep. All right, so we are so excited to have our special guest tonight, the executive director of the Cavs Futures Foundation, former UVA baseball player, Low Davis. How are you doing tonight, Low?
I'm good, gentlemen. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thank you.
We appreciate your time. So just to kind of get started, it was new news today with athletic director Carla Williams extending for 5 more years. What's your relationship like with her, and how do your two positions work together?
Yeah, Carla and I go way back. Obviously, during my days of being a fundraiser at VAF, I spent a lot of time on the road with her when she was brand new, and taking her throughout the state to meet donors. And Carla and I built a really special relationship. I think people don't really know Carla Williams. You can call her introverted, but I just say that she's behind the scenes a lot. And the work that she's doing behind the scenes, people just really don't know. First of all, it's hard at Virginia, right? I think somebody said they want us to be, Yale during the week and Alabama on the weekend. And so, for someone like Carla navigating this space, she has done a phenomenal job. She makes no excuses. She works extremely hard, and we have a great relationship. And now, obviously, with the rule changes and how things have happened in the NIL world, we're at the table together now. And whether it's talking strategy, the future, I've spent a lot of time with Carla and her team, and I have the utmost respect for her.
That's awesome. I know you've been associated with the university for many years with being a former baseball player and working with the VAF, and now the Cavs Futures as executive director. What makes Virginia such a special place to you?
Man, my story is a unique one. I was actually going to go to JMU to play baseball. And my senior year of high school, I got hurt in a football game. And that Monday, my high school coach, Harold Jones, came in and said, "We're going to Charlottesville to see Dr. McHugh." Had no idea who Frank McHugh was, but I said, "Okay, we'll go." And when I went into his office, I remember, and you guys probably not old enough, but I saw Ric Flair's picture up on the wall, and I saw all these famous celebrities, and I'm like, man, I must be in a special place. And so Doc asked me at least 3 or 4 times, was Virginia recruiting me? And I said, no, they're not recruiting me. I'm going to JMU to play baseball. And then he proceeded to ask me, do you want to go to Virginia? And he asked me like 5 times. And I finally just said, all right, I'll appease him and say, yes, I'd love to go to Virginia. And then about 2.5 weeks later, I get a letter from Dennis Womack and a phone call and just said, hey, we want to watch you this spring. And if things work out, we've got a preferred walk-on spot. And I was like, oh, well, you know what? I would take Virginia all day, every day. And I have not looked back since. And so I bleed orange and blue. I have a younger brother who's 14 years younger than I am. He brought the GPA up in the family by coming to Virginia, but it's a place that I really, really care about.
That's awesome. And you're right in our wheelhouse with Ric Flair references, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Love
it. So obviously right now, everybody's kind of talking about the transfer portal with football and, the large anonymous donation that came in. And the hope was that would kind of inspire, other donors to kind of jump on board. So since that big donation came in, have you seen like an increase in donations?
Yeah, we have. And I think both through CAF Futures, I think people had started reaching out to the VAF as well. And sometimes you never want to be the first one in, or sometimes you feel like it's a drop in the bucket and it's not going to make a difference. And when that anonymous donation came in, I really wanted to articulate to our fan base and our donors that it was a difference maker. And so we started to see, kind of a few cherries on top. And, I just got a check in the mail 2 days ago for $75,000 from somebody I'd never even spoken to, somebody I didn't know was going to send in a gift. And so that's what we've been able to accomplish. And, let me tell you this, and I remember doing Preston Willett's podcast when the anonymous donation came in, and I kind of tool around X and kind of see what the pulse is out there, and I have to fight the urge and resist to respond sometimes. But sure. I think there was somebody that posted that I was full of hot air, and talking about the type of student athletes that we could now bring through UVA. With this donation and with the help of this donation. And let me tell you, we've upgraded our talent big time. I think we either have 14 or 16 guys in the portal that we got from the portal. We've got 3 pending that if we can get 2 of the 3, let me tell you, it will get everybody's attention. And if you do the math, you'll know that, those individuals come from Power 5, Power 4 schools, playing in the CFP, and those are the type of young men that are now entertaining coming to the University of Virginia.
Wow, that's exciting stuff to hear. Yeah. Yes. So what is your role exactly when it comes to the portal? Are you like the recruiting process, getting those guys, how do you play into that?
Man, times have changed. 2 years ago, I couldn't talk to anybody until the student athlete actually matriculated to UVA. Okay. And now, whether it's a high school student athlete prospect, transfer portal prospect, I am now being able to talk with those individuals. And so I've had calls with agents, I've had calls with parents and student athletes as well. And so really kind of my role with CAF Futures has been, once we've identified prospects who are in the portal, we then work through and look at what our compensation structure would be. We've been putting together MOUs and getting them to agents to basically show that we're serious about the money that we're offering. And then we go from there. If that student athlete and that agent is serious about Virginia, then they work with the staff to come on their recruiting visit. And then it comes back to me, and then we kind of sign and seal the deal. And so it's been fast and furious. We've had a few swing and misses, but since the portal opened, I've had one day, which was Christmas Day, that I've not had any contact with anybody affiliated with college athletics. And so I got to find some sun and sand pretty soon to get away from this thing.
For sure.
Yeah. Man, that's crazy. What's the biggest challenge facing Virginia right now when it comes to the NCAA landscape as it is now?
It used to be ourselves, right? I think we've had this mentality that all that's happening out there is evil. Well, I can tell you now that we're getting buy-in, especially from the university at the highest level, whether it's admissions, whether it's President Ryan, whether it's the rector Robert Hardy. We're now getting the buy-in to say that we're going to go in and we're going to participate, still do it as what we say, the Virginia way, which is the right way. But we're all in when it comes to this college landscape, especially when it comes to football, revenue sharing support. We're in a really, really, really good position, unlike any time in the history of Virginia athletics.
It's quite the landscape. Do you see the NCAA I can't talk. Do you see the NCAA implementing any regulations to kind of bring it back from the Wild Wild West that kind of is right now?
I think we can all agree that from the beginning of time when it comes to college athletics, there are always people trying to look to buck the system or do things under the table or what have you. Even though we're going to go into a more regulated environment, there are still going to be people, donors, institutions that are looking to try to get a leg up on everyone. But I do think now, if this revenue sharing and the House settlement passes in April, it gives you a hard cap. It gives you kind of some regulations, but also some people to monitor it. I think, the third-party clearinghouse like Deloitte is supposed to come in and evaluate contracts and things like that. So I think it's going to, at least in the beginning, put everybody on the same playing field. But hey, if you've got a donor at the University of Alabama that has 5 car dealerships, that donor is still potentially going to get more opportunities for a kid that goes to Alabama than, say, Virginia. So it's going to be out there, but I think it's going to be a little bit less of the Wild Wild West for sure.
Yeah, it seems like right now we're living in I'm sure you remember the movie Blue Chips.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, like that movie. Gosh, so far ahead of its time. I mean, but all that stuff now is just like, what we're seeing kind of legal now. But
well, I have to laugh. I go back, almost 40 years ago, and there are people 40 years ago that wanted to give you everything from free meals to, hey, come over and paint this wall, for 5 weeks and we'll give you 10 grand. Those are the people now that are hating the fact that student athletes are actually able to make money legally. And so it's right. Kind of wild that is the case. But it's one of those things. And obviously we were losing coaches in the landscape, like a Tony Bennett and, Jim Larinaga and others. But, I think as far as it relates to Tony specifically, having more rules, regulations, having agents that go through a certification process, all of those things, I think kind of sour the taste of some of these coaches. It's not that the kids can make money. I think, Tony Bennett was all about, NIL and kids making money. It was just the way everything was just so unregulated, and some of these kids are getting taken advantage of.
Right. Yep. So with specifically talking, football and basketball, I'm assuming that Virginia has kind of like an unofficial salary cap, and you probably can't give out numbers, but like you hear rumors, you see things on the internet like, oh, this guy's getting $4 million, this guy's getting $800,000. This, what would be a ballpark? What I guess I can maybe you can answer it this way. What would be a number that you would think is reasonable for a team to be able to compete with? Like, they spent this much money to acquire the talent that they have, and they can compete.
I think the first thing is don't believe everything you hear out there on the internet.
For sure.
I've had several conversations with student athletes, but also collectives. And there is a lot of writing checks that they can't cash. And that's the one thing that we at Cav Futures and UVA, we just don't jump into that arena. I have a really good friend that ran a collective for a big time football school, and they were offering out money that ultimately they had to go out and fundraise for. And he said the worst thing that could have happened, and he's no longer there, but the worst thing that could have happened is when you've got 18 to 23-year-olds calling his phone and knocking on his door saying, "Where's my check?" Mm-hmm. And so we're not in that world. But to more specifically answer your question, I think that will all kind of play out when the revenue sharing piece passes. And, I've heard anywhere, if it's a $20 million cap, probably 75% of that is going to be spent on football. And probably another, 20% spent on men's basketball, and then women's basketball will fall in as well. But, you're talking probably $15 million being spent on football rosters going forward.
Wow. That's kind of, when you think about the money involved, it really doesn't seem unreasonable, but definitely a brand new world there. So a lot of schools have kind of started adding the general manager for football. If you look at like Andrew Luck and Stanford, I think, a lot of people kind of look at you kind of as the GM for Virginia, but do you think Virginia will ever actually officially add a general manager for football?
So I've never met Andrew, but I've had 2 or 3 conversations with his dad, Oliver. And so I have the utmost respect for that family, and I know how smart Andrew is. I think the problem with this whole GM deal is that unless you hire somebody that's actually been through it and qualified, there's no way you can call me a GM. I just don't have the experience, but I am participating in the process, but I just don't have the experience to be called a GM. And so there will be people that fill that position and give them that title. But unless you're bringing somebody from the NFL, I just don't think you're going to have player personnel and GMs that are truly qualified to do this at the collegiate level. Now, I will say, this tells you how smart Carla is. She's had in 2 different seminars, 3 current and former professional general managers in to speak to our coaches, and I was very blessed to be included in that. Scott Pioli was one of them who was with the New England Patriots. And so being able to understand the landscape and what the professional model looks like, Virginia is now positioning itself without necessarily having a GM role, but we're positioning ourselves to get the education and the knowledge of what that looks like from that pro model standpoint.
Awesome.
Yeah. So does Virginia offer only NIL, or is there also like a pay-to-play philosophy in place for certain players, or is there like a combination of the two?
So again, this is all pending this April court case with the House settlement. If that goes through, then as of July 1st, then the institutions can directly compensate the student athletes. So that's when the pay for play comes in. Right now, in the way that this portal has been unique, there's been a role for Cav Futures in there to talk about a January to June model, and then with RevShare kind of picking up July to December, and that would be the institution's standpoint. So it's been legally, we've had to really be nuanced. We've had to kind of button up. We've spent a lot of money on attorney fees to make sure that whatever we put in these contracts, the money is guaranteed, even if it's coming from multiple sources. So I think we've been able to accomplish that at a high level. But yes, July 1st, if this House settlement passes, that's when the institution can go to the pay for play model.
Gotcha. So I know you kind of mentioned how money with football and basketball is divided up. Are the markets for football and basketball players similar, or does one sport normally produce larger offers than others?
Yeah, I think because of the numbers and the roster sizes, it's different. Obviously, the amount of money spent in football is much greater than basketball. I think you have to determine position and depth with football, right? So you may be paying somebody that's third on your depth chart just for security and practice, versus with basketball, you can top end it with your starters and then maybe go 7 deep. All of that's still being, kind of understood and played out. But, the majority of this money and high dollar value is going to football.
Right. So let's, I'm trying to think of the way I want to word this with, you have a player, let's just say, and Virginia had this in basketball, so I want to call the player by name, but you have a player who leaves the program that comes in through the portal and never plays a game. Is that, just to clear things up for the fans, is that player still compensated, or are they some way giving up that by going back into the portal? How does that work in general? You don't have to speak obviously to one player. In general, what is the kind of like how that works?
So again, we're very nuanced in how we do things, because we understand that there has to be protection methods in place for us and for the donors and so forth. And so the way that we've done specifically with, we can talk about men's basketball is, we've put together 6-month contracts, and then we go month to month after that. Now, unlike some other collectives where it's a Venmo account and the student athletes don't have to do anything, if you don't fulfill your work requirement with CAF Futures, you don't get paid. And so that gives us some protection that if that student athlete enters the portal, quits the team, whatever it may be, they're not fulfilling their monthly obligation in order to get paid. And so that gives us some protections there.
That's good to hear, and I think, and you guys, by you doing like podcasts like with us and with Preston and things like that, it really helps, the fans to understand, because and we're going to give you a chance to talk about how people can get involved. But like, I think some people may be leery to get involved if they're not sure like how strong a commitment that an athlete has to make in order to receive, their pay, basically.
Yes.
And so we appreciate you coming on and helping to educate us as well. So, you kind of talked about this, but the way the calendar works, it seems like this is like every day is like the busiest season ever.
Yes.
When is there time? Does the NCAA build in time? I know there's some dead periods, but what's it like for you? Because your role is a little bit different. Do you get any downtime?
So what people don't realize is that you've got kind of the recruiting periods where you're actively involved in recruiting student athletes. But the biggest thing for us, which has limited our downtime, is the number of student athletes we have under contract. They have to do the work. And so we have a team, 4 full-time, and then we have 8 interns, and it's still not enough. And whether it's creating content, going out and creating opportunities in the community service, all of those things, it really, really takes a long time. This past weekend, from Friday all the way through Sunday night, we met with 66 football student athletes one-on-one.
Wow.
And so those were onboarding to talk about the opportunities with CAF Futures, the expectations with CAF Futures, and now we're putting them to work so that we can get them paid. And so literally the only downtime that we have is right at graduation for about 2 weeks before football comes back. And it's got to be a better way. And again, once the revenue sharing piece kicks in, then that will give us a little bit more downtime. But right now, and especially doing it, as I've always said, the Virginia way and the right way, these student athletes have to earn their money, and it's up to us to make sure that we're creating the quid pro quo in order for them to earn those dollars.
I know you said you scour the social media from time to time, and I know it's got to be frustrating from time to time to hear fans saying, like UVA is not committed to winning in football, considering, that awesome new facility you guys have built and the willingness to compensate the best athletes as you guys have been doing. how close is Virginia from flipping that 5-7 to an 8-4 or better? Like we feel like the pieces are in place.
So let's put it this way. It has been now hand delivered to Coach Elliott and his staff, the talent needed to even get us to Charlotte. And I'm saying that 110% with a straight face. The talent upgrade that we have gotten through the portal, the student athletes that we have retained, we're there. And we've got, again, 3, maybe 4 that are pending for this cycle. Kind of the drop dead date is the 25th or 26th to get kids enrolled in school. But there's 3 or 4 more out there from big time programs that we're waiting to hear from. And then we'll take another aggressive approach when the portal opens up again in April, that when you look at this roster, it will be pretty much completely flipped with an upgrade in talent. And let me tell you, we've met all the transfers so far, from Monroe Mills to Chandler Morris and Danny Kalen and Hunter Osborne. They are so excited to be here. And they didn't really have a good sense of what Virginia was all about until they came on their recruiting visit. And they're like, wow, this is a hidden gem. And so when you're coming from programs like Alabama and places like that, to say that about Virginia, it's pretty amazing. And I'll add this too. I was just over at the Hardy Center again today. We did a big financial literacy program with our football team, where we've got a partnership with Morgan Stanley. But all of those guys have said, we've been in facilities, and Kevin Widgington was on your show, and he's like, the Hardy Center is unlike any facility that they've seen. So that tells you how serious we are about football, and we just got to continue to get these student athletes to Charlottesville, and they like what they see.
Yeah, everyone we've had on, every recruit we've had on, they speak so highly of that Hardy Center.
Yes.
And because we always ask them to compare it to where other places they've been, and it's state of the art, and they always speak really highly. And
there's one other key to getting a commitment to come to Virginia, Lo, and we've gotten this from everyone we've talked to. You got to get Mama in front of Coach Elliott. They love Coach Elliott. The moms just love him.
Well, I've spent more time with Coach Elliott over the last probably 4 or 5 months than I have in his entire time here. And he's got such a great personality. We hit it off well because he loves baseball. He's got two sons that are absolute studs, but he loves the game of baseball. And we spend more time probably talking about baseball and looking at our kids' baseball videos than we do talking about football. So, no, listen, he was dealt a really tough hand coming here. And I know our fans have every right to have their opinion and their thoughts, and productivity means everything. But, truly from year one with Bronco's departure and the departure of guys in the transfer portal to, the horrible, horrible tragedy that we had here, this program now is finally in a place where it's his and the cloud is not hanging over his head. So I know we're all impatient and we want to get back to winning and being consistent, but the guy has the pedigree. The guy was in demand. Carla made the right hire. And so let's let this thing play out. And certainly now with the talent, hey, listen, talent make coaches look really, really good. And I don't have anything bad to say about Nick Saban, but let me tell you, he didn't block or tackle anybody. That's and right. The guys that he brought in made him even better as a coach.
That's right.
That's right. Well, I want to thank you for your time tonight. So can you tell everyone how they can support Cavs Futures and help Virginia continue to go to the top of the mountain in all the different sports? And give any message you'd like to give out to Wahoo Nation?
Yeah, so my first message would be is that we're on the rise. And I know that, again, we love our fan base. We really need people to do their part. And if you really want to help, the NIL piece is a part of it. And you can go to cavfutures.com to join our Cav Club or make a gift. But let me tell you, buy a single game ticket. Buy something that will get you in the stadium this fall so that you can create this environment. And let's start with the spring game. but let's create this environment that more of the Hunter Osborns from Alabama and places like that, Jamal Edgerrin from Purdue, that want to be here in Charlottesville. And so, that's what I urge the fans, is that if you don't want to buy season tickets, hey, that's one thing, and I get it, but just buy a single game ticket and show up, because our recruits, they want to see Scott Stadium filled. And Coach Elliott, Carla Williams, we all know that it takes winning and having a better product on the field to get our fan base excited. But man, let's get this thing started, and let's have everybody, do their little part by showing up on Saturdays.
That's awesome. And Lo, I tell you, I'm ready to run through a brick wall for you too right now. You got me excited. I can't wait till football.
Hey, listen, I've been called a homer before, but being right in the middle of it, in the thick of things, and watching how the recruiting process has taken place. And I'll say this, I got to give a shout out to our systems coordinator, Emma Chapman. Literally, she has been on call since the portal opened. And we have been getting MOUs sent out to agents at 11 p.m. at night, weekly. And so Emma has been a godsend. And I could say I'm heavily involved, but I've not done this alone. So it's been a lot of work by this staff and by Cav Futures and recruiting. And let me tell you, I think this spring and this fall, seriously, we're going to see what this is all about. And Virginia has, when you talk about the commitment, me personally, and I've been around for almost 40 years, I never thought I would see the day where Virginia would invest as much as they're investing in our football program. And we're in it. We're in it with both feet to play this game and play it at a high level.
That's awesome. Man, if we could just flip the calendar.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm ready.
July and August can't get here fast enough. I'm telling you.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, we appreciate your time. This has been a lot of fun and very educational for me, for sure. And, good luck. And hopefully we got some more big names coming.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Thanks for your time.
All right. Thank you.
And that was Lo Davis, the executive director of Cavs Futures, and just got me a little bit excited there tonight, Jay. How about yourself?
Yeah, just point me in the direction of the brick wall you want me to run through. Just point me in the direction. And no,
I'm not gonna KC it and bounce off a wall, but that was awesome, exciting things ahead for football. When you tell me Charlotte, you mentioned Charlotte,
and you're talking, potential playoff team next year. The pieces are there. It sounds like.
And pieces to come.
It's and believe it. He truly believes it. And man, like you said on the interview, just can't wait. We'll definitely be at the spring game, I imagine. Baseball schedule has got to come out, youth baseball schedule. So we'll see. Last year I was able to go, but would try my best to make it happen.
Hey, real quick, let's mention, because he told us after we went off the air, he meant to mention on the air how he's linked up our new quarterback with Bryce Perkins. Who he said Bryce Perkins. He's linking him up with Brennan Armstrong, but with Bryce
Perkins, Sean Moore, and Matt Schaub.
Matt Schaub. Like, are you kidding me? Like that's where it's at. You want to get some leadership and learn how to play quarterback at the University of Virginia. Sean Moore is a heck of an option. Yep. Bryce Perkins a heck of an option. Matt Schaub's a heck of an option.
Yep.
That's exciting stuff. He's got quite the job. Quite the job. No downtime. I'm sure his phone does not stop going. And that I'm really thankful for him to come on, because good God, Jay. To give us that time, we're really appreciative, because
your number one resource is the time you have, and he doesn't have a whole lot of it, so we really are appreciative. I just hope we can close the deal with these 3 or 4 guys that he's talking about that are potentially still involved in the CFP, college football playoffs going on. But if they're in the portal now or going to be in the portal potentially, we don't know. but 3 or 4 guys that are big time players, and man, that would just be huge.
Yeah. Well, I'm a little giddy right now, but we will appreciate everybody tuning into this one. Lots of great information. Thanks to Lo Davis for joining us. And Virginia plays Saturday at noon in Louisville, and we'll see.
Hit that subscribe button.
Hit the subscribe button on YouTube.
Follow us on X, all that stuff. Give comments to the video, like the video. We recently had a video, I think, with like 12 comments or something. So that's pretty good. But you know, tell us what you thought about Lo's interview and where you see Virginia athletics going.
No question. Hope everybody has a great day today as this one is released, and we will see you guys next week. Go Hoos.
Go Hoos.